KSL News at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon. Our top story today: about 200 inmates were quickly evacuated from one area of Salt Lake Metro Jail to another one after a fire broke out on the roof of the building.
Yeah, the sheriff's office said that South Salt Lake, the fire chief and the county mayor all gave us an update on this fire late this afternoon. News specialist Shara Park was there. She joins us live. Shara, do we know how this fire started?
Yeah, we do, Mike and Debbie. The Salt Lake County Sheriff, Rosie Rivera, in that press conference said that there was a subcontractor up on the roof of the Metro Jail doing some work on the HVAC system when there was a spark that came from either their tools or equipment that sparked this fire there up on the roof. Now, it was around 10:35 when someone started noticing smoke coming into the affected portion of the jail here in the area of 3500 South and 900 West. Now, at that same time, the contractor alerted staff at the jail of the fire, and multiple fire departments began responding to the scene. As firefighters got to the roof, they discovered flames in the heating and ventilation unit, which meant they had to remove some of the roof and the insulation to keep it from spreading. In the meantime, the jail went into lockdown as staff began transferring about 200 inmates from that unit to another area of the jail.
Our employees are incredible. Everybody kicked in and did what they needed to do to ensure that those prisoners are safe and they feel safe, and we didn't have any hiccups in that area.
Well, no jail staff or inmates were hurt by the smoke or the fire. The only injury to report was one involving the contractor who hurt his ankle at some point during this entire ordeal. The jail did have to shut down the booking area for about 2 hours while staff was used to help transfer those inmates. During that time, agencies and dispatch around the valley notified about that delay in processing. That operation is now back up and running. Now, Sheriff Rivera says they're still trying to determine how much this is going to cost to repair the damage caused by this fire, but those repairs are already underway. So, Mike and Debbie, the sheriff says there is some water damage to the area where this fire took place in that unit, but it's not necessarily because of water that was caused from putting the fire out. It's water that kind of seeped down through the ventilation system into that area. So they're looking at some repairs there, but really the sheriff says this was really minimal compared to what could have been had they not gotten to this fire right away. We'll send it back to you.
Yeah, definitely a top priority. Shara, thanks. Well, new today, Salt Lake police arrested a woman now.
Coming up next on Live at 5.
A fire at the Salt Lake County Jail forces nearly 200 inmates to evacuate from one section to another. We'll take a look at the damage.
Preparing for wild season, one home at a time. What firefighters are up to in Sandy.
A Utah company helping farmers grow crops like this inside one of these. I'll show you how it works.
KSL Live at 5 starts now.
Well, fire forced nearly 200 inmates to be evacuated and relocated after a fire broke out in one of the air conditioning units at the Salt Lake County Metro Jail.
News specialist Shara Park joined us live on scene with a look at the damage there. Shara, what do you know?
Yeah, Mike and Debbie. Okay, let me show you. So Sheriff Rosie Rivera says the majority of this damage was contained to this section of the roof, this northeast corner of the Metro Jail's roof. That's where it's concentrated. But there is some water damage that went down through the ventilation system that may have caused some minor damage inside this specific unit. Now, this fire sparked on the roof of the Salt Lake Metro Jail around 10:35 this morning. South Salt Lake Fire Chief Terry Addison says a subcontractor was working on the HVAC system at the time and noticed the smoke and flames and ran to alert staff, who also began to see the smoke coming into the building. By the time firefighters got to the roof, the flames were beginning to spread.
The fire crews had to remove some of the insulation and the membrane in order to ensure that the fire did not continue to spread.
Now, as firefighters were digging into the roof to stop the fire, the jail went into lockdown and nearly 200 inmates were evacuated from their unit and moved to another unit in the jail. Sheriff Rosie Rivera says they will stay there for the foreseeable future. The fire affected jail operations for about 2 hours while bookings were shut down and jail staff were helping to move those inmates. During that time, Sheriff Rivera says police agencies around the valley were notified of the processing delay, but now that operation is back up and running. Now, no jail staff or inmates were hurt or injured by the smoke or by the fire. The only injury to really report here was the subcontractor who suffered an ankle injury at some point during this ordeal. They're not sure if that was while running to notify anyone of this fire. Sheriff Rivera says everything honestly went pretty smoothly in this case. She says her staff really stepped up in the situation and performed really well. She says a lot of that is just because of how amazing they are and simply the training that they've received over the years in running, basically doing these emergency drills that really came into play in this situation. For Live at 5 here in Salt Lake City, I'm Shara Park.
All right, Shara, thanks. Police in Salt Lake